Far beyond the edge of human-settled space, a part of the galaxy ruled by the ancient and strict Ilari dominion. A child was born under Rare Stars 1, whose birth should have been a celebration but instead became a quiet disgrace. Princess Asha Teller, the youngest daughter of the royal family, came into the world with a condition that left her unable to walk or move like others of her kind. In a society where perfection was everything, where even minor genetic flaws were hidden or erased, Asha was treated not as royalty, but as a mistake. Though her mind was sharp and her spirit unbroken, her people looked at her with pity or worse, with shame. As she grew, her life became a series of locked doors and silent rooms. Eventually, to preserve the royal image, the Dominion sent her away first to a private moon, then to a distant neutral world near human space, where no Ilari noble would visit, and no whisper of her presence could tarnish the family name. They called it a diplomatic assignment.
Yes.
She knew it was exile. Years passed. Alone on the quiet planet of Aradessa 3, Asha studied the stars, watched the news feeds of galactic politics, and slowly pieced together a truth the Dominion refused to face. Their empire was weakening. Whispers of rebellion stirred and distant. Sectors' trade routes fell under threat. And at the edge of the galaxy, humanity once overlooked, once considered primitive, had become a growing force. Independent, curious, fierce, when challenged. Some Ilari believed an alliance with the humans might offer salvation. Others saw them as a threat to everything pure. But Asha, with her outsider's view and long years of quiet observation, saw something else. In humans, she saw a possibility. While her own people cast her out, humans embraced difference. Where Ilari saw imperfection, humans found strength. She began studying them, reading human books, watching their history, their triumphs, their mistakes. One name appeared again and again in scientific research reports: Dr. Elias Thorna, brilliant. Xenobiologist working on alien biology and isolated human colonies. He was known for studying species rejected or forgotten by others. He had a reputation for being reclusive, quiet, but compassionate. And so, one morning, under the pale twin suns of Aradessa 3, Usha made her choice. When she appeared at his settlement, the humans there were surprised. Few had ever seen an Ilari in person, and none had seen one in ceremonial robes like hers, with her mobility suit humming softly at her legs. Elias Thorne was tending to samples when the message came through. A high-born alien woman requested a private meeting. He expected a political visitor, maybe a diplomat. What he got was something else entirely. Just stood before him, tall despite the support frame, her silver eyes calm but filled with tension, as if the weight of her entire life had led to this moment. Her voice was soft, formal, and without hesitation, she asked, "Will you mate with me?" For a long moment, Elias said nothing. The request was so unexpected, so strange, that he wondered if he had misunderstood. But Asha repeated herself. This time slower, her gaze steady. "I am not here for diplomacy. I am here because I have no one else. I am not asking for sympathy. I am asking for your decision." Her words hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Elias had spent years cataloging alien species, learning their biology, their languages, even their emotions, but this was something no textbook could prepare him for. Why him? His first instinct was to ask her to leave, to say this wasn't the kind of request he could answer, but something in her eyes stopped him. Not desperation, exactly, but a kind of deep strength, the kind that forms only after years of rejection and solitude. He didn't know her, didn't know what she hoped for beyond survival or freedom, yet something about the moment felt larger than either of them. The air between them was silent, but charged with potential. As the wind stirred the dust outside, and the twin suns dipped lower in the sky, Elias Thorne realized that the next words he spoke might not just change her life. They could change everything humanity thought it knew about the Ilari, and he wasn't sure if he was ready for that. After the shock of her question settled, Asha began to explain, her voice calm but firm, revealing the hidden truth behind her desperate request. Her royal bloodline was at risk, she said, and the only way to restore her family's honor was to produce an heir. However, because of her disability, no Ilari noble, her own people, would agree to mate with her. They saw her as a blemish on their proud lineage, a weakness that must be hidden or erased. In quiet exile, Asha had watched humanity closely, learning about their strength, their ability to accept imperfection, and their deep emotional bonds. Humans were not perfect. They made mistakes and faced hardships, but they also adapted, loved freely, and showed resilience in ways the Ilari had forgotten. She believed Elias was different, someone who could see beyond her physical limitations and offer something no other had, a true partnership based on respect and trust, not duty or appearance. Elias listened carefully, feeling a mixture of empathy and doubt. He understood what it meant to be an outsider, and he sympathized with her isolation. But he also knew how dangerous this alliance could be. Both the Ilari and the humans had factions that would oppose such a union, and his involvement might place them both in great danger. Yet there was something more to Usha's request than just survival or royal duty. She spoke of partnership, friendship, even revolution, ideas that stirred something deep inside Elias. She wasn't asking for a simple transaction or a political marriage. She wanted someone who would stand beside her, someone who believed in change as much as she did. After long hours of silence and thought, Elias finally agreed, but with one clear condition. This bond must be forged by choice, not by obligation or desperation. If they were to share this path, it would be because both of them wanted it fully and freely. This moment of agreement was fragile, hanging between hope and uncertainty. But it marked the beginning of something neither had expected, a partnership that could challenge the old rules of two very different worlds. Neither spoke much after that, each lost in their own thoughts about what the future might hold. Elias wondered if he was ready for the storm that might come with this decision. And Asha felt a cautious spark of hope, as if for the first time in many years, she was no longer alone. Outside, the twin suns of Iridessa III dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows, but inside that small room, a new kind of light was beginning to grow, a light that could change the course of history. News of the unlikely union between the disabled alien Princess Asha Teller and the human scientist Elias Thorne spread faster than either of them expected. Carried by whispers, news feeds, and secret messages across star systems, the Ilari High Council was furious. To them, Usha's choice was not just a personal betrayal, but a threat to the entire Dominion's future. They declared her a traitor and dispatched elite assassins silent, deadly agents trained to eliminate anyone who endangered the purity and power of their empire. At the same time, on the human side, authorities were divided. Some saw Asha as a refugee worthy of protection, a symbol of courage and change. Others feared the political complications of sheltering an alien royal who openly defied her people. This division fueled unrest, and extremists on both sides, humans suspicious of alien influence and Ilari loyalists terrified of contamination, began stirring trouble, spreading fear and hatred that threatened to erupt into violence. Faced with danger from all sides, Elias and Asha had no choice but to flee, leaving behind the quiet planet that had been her exile. Together they moved from remote asteroid colonies to hidden research stations, always staying one step ahead of those hunting them. As they traveled, something remarkable happened. Their bond grew beyond mere survival. They shared their stories, their hopes, and their fears. Elias used his knowledge to improve Usha's mobility exosuit, making it lighter and more responsive, giving her freedom she had not known before. In return, Asha introduced him to the secret psychic traditions of the Ilar, ancient mental techniques that could bend perception and communicate without words. These lessons opened Ilias's mind to new ways of thinking about connection and power, deepening the trust between them. But danger was never far behind. During one tense night on a small space station, they barely escaped an ambush by Ilari purifiers, lead hunters sent to capture or kill Asha. The attack was swift and brutal, but Elias and Asha, working as one, used a mix of human technology and Ilari psychic defenses to evade capture. As they fled through the dark corridors, Elias realized that what they faced was far greater than a personal threat. This was not just the story of two individuals fighting for their right to be together. It was the beginning of something much bigger. Two civilizations, once separate and suspicious, now forced to change and grow through their connection. Their union challenged old rules, ancient fears, and the very nature of identity and strength. With every close call, every shared secret, Elias understood more clearly that this was not simply about survival, but about evolution of minds, societies, and hearts. And while the path ahead was uncertain and full of peril, the spark between them was a promise of hope that could one day bridge the gap between their worlds. In the quiet shadows of the galaxy's fringe, Shah and Elias found unexpected allies. A rogue, human diplomat known for challenging his own government's cautious ways, and Usha's old nursemaid, a woman who had secretly remained loyal through years of exile and silence. Together, this unlikely group planned a daring mission to an ancient Iolari vault, buried deep beneath the capital world's oldest temple. A place long forgotten by many, but containing the true history of the royal bloodline. The vault held records, not just of kings and queens, but genetic data preserved across millennia. Secrets about the supposed purity of the Iolari race that no one wanted to see revealed. With careful precision and whispered codes, they bypassed security systems and ancient locks, finally uncovering what the Dominion had hidden for generations, proof that the Iolari perfect lineage was a myth. A carefully crafted story, too. Hide flaws and weaknesses that had always existed, passed down quietly through the family tree. This truth struck at the heart of the Dominion's power and pride. But Asha was not interested in destruction for its own sake. She wanted change. Using secure communication channels, she sent a bold broadcast across human and Iolari networks. Her voice was clear and honest as she spoke about her disability, not as a burden, but as a part of her strength. About her partnership with Elias, a union not forced by politics, but chosen freely, and about how weakness in any form was not a curse, but an invitation to connect, to grow, and to adapt together. Her message spread like wildfire, reaching young people on both sides who were tired of rigid traditions and endless fear. Many found in her words hope and courage, seeing a future where differences were celebrated rather than punished. But not everyone welcomed this change. In the highest chambers of the Iolari Dominion, her older brother, the Crown Prince, watched the broadcasts with cold fury. To him, Usha's revelation was betrayal, a dangerous threat to the control and order he had sworn to maintain. He began mobilizing forces, preparing for war, not just to stop his sister, but to crush the movement she had ignited. As tensions soared, Elias and Asha realized that their fight was no longer private. It had become a turning point for two civilizations, caught between the past's stubborn chains and the uncertain promise of a new future. Every message sent, every alliance formed, every step forward became a race against time and war, with the fate of their worlds hanging in the balance. But through it all, Usha's belief never wavered. Weakness was not the end, but the beginning of something stronger and more real. And together with Elias, she was ready to face whatever came next, as the shadow of war loomed over the border. The world where Asha and Elias had taken refuge, tensions reached a boiling point. The Iolari Dominion, furious and determined, prepared a full-scale attack to capture the exiled princess and crush the hope she had ignited. Yet, in a surprising and unprecedented move, the human government stepped forward together, offering Asha not just shelter, but political asylum, a symbol of trust and alliance. They recognized her as a legitimate diplomatic envoy, acknowledging that her cause was more than personal, was a bridge between two species struggling to find common ground. This decision shocked many on both sides. Some hailed it as a new era of cooperation, while others whispered warnings of betrayal. For Asha and Elias, it was a lifeline. Knowing the Dominion's fleet would arrive soon, they prepared for a confrontation unlike any before. Elias, once a quiet scientist, now took command of a salvaged Iolari warship, its sleek form a reminder of the Empire's former power. Shah, despite her disability, was ready as co-pilot, her mind sharp and connected to the ancient psychic techniques of her people, honed over years of secret training. Together, they approached the advancing fleet not with weapons blazing, but with strategy in mind. Using a combination of Ilori, telepathic skills, and human tactical ingenuity, they disabled the enemy ship systems one by one, cutting their power and communications without causing a single life to be lost. The standoff was tense, with neither side willing to escalate into bloodshed, but in the end, it was clear that strength was not only in firepower, but in will and understanding. Asha, once cast out and rejected, stood triumphant, not because of her royal blood, but because of her courage, her determination, and the human who believed in her when no one else did. Her victory became a symbol of what could be achieved when old prejudices were set aside, and true partnership was embraced. In the calm that followed, the two found themselves on a new world, a colony built to welcome both humans and Ilari. Willing to embrace change? There, among a community shaped by hope and cooperation, they welcomed the birth of their first child, an extraordinary child who was more than a symbol of peace. They were the living proof of a future where two species, once divided by fear and tradition, could grow together. This new beginning carried the promise that even the deepest wounds could heal, and that from weakness could come a strength greater than either had ever known alone.